4th man in the field with 5 wins in the last 6 races, but it can all change very quickly in the Moto3 class. Steve English and Kiko Giles here in Valencia. And Kiko, this really does set up to be a real cracking day's racing.
It really does, Steve. You know, this is the last day of the year. We cannot wait to get to. Yesterday, it was a red flagged race. This was the first start. Pedro Acosta getting the whole shot from his pole position. We had a crash in the back for one of the Estrella Galicia bikes, but everyone else was pretty much okay. It was later on in the race where we start really seeing all of the drama. Xavi Artigas was getting ahead of his main rivals. That was David Salvador, who we'll see and keeping his calm. That was Salvador's accident, a huge high side, and following him in was Gerard Riu. Both of them out of the race restart. Would start, but it would be from the pit lane and long after everyone else had gone through. Acosta got the whole shot once more ahead of Takuma Matsuyama. And there is Xavi Artigas. It is other riders out on track earlier on in the lap. That was one of the British Talent team riders, but at the front the battle would absolutely ignite. Acosta was leading for most of the race, whilst Artigas a little bit further down the field was hoping for anything. His aim now was points. He couldn't really fight at the front. He had a huge harm. He got back up and tried to rejoin. Whilst on the last corner of the last lap, it was that man again, Ethan Guevara, robbed a race leading the whole time Pedro Acosta to take victory. And
the pole sitter for these races this weekend, and had to come through from the front of the field to try and win that race, but it really was a struggle for him, Kiko. We saw that he had that last corner instance with Guevara. This was another time where we saw Guevara really perfect racecraft all the way through.
Absolutely perfect racecraft, saving the best till last. He attacked and left his rival with really no opportunity to get him back. The last go on the last lap, you've got to be brave.
Guevara has gotten faster and faster as the year has progressed. He's only had one front row start this year. Most of the time, as Kiko said, he's been coming through the field and really has been very impressive all the way through
from different positions on the grid. And to be quite honest, that has been one of the big dynamics this weekend. We've got the championship battle coming from row 3, Artigas at the head of it, Guevara at the end of it. This is not over yet, and on top of that, Pedro Acosta is 3rd in this championship season. He's 37 points back. Clear run down to turn 1.
Yeah, Pedro Acosta, we can see here, knowing that he needs to win this race really to have any chance of being able to bring his title challenge into the last race of the season. For Pedro,
he really has. He's the only rider to actually win from the front row this year, and he did that from pole. That was at Portimao, and he's one of just 2 riders who really have got a slender opportunity at taking this crown from Guevara. You know, Artigas is right in the mix, and realistically, with Acosta, he's on that boundary between being realistic and just mathematical. But with 50 points up for grabs, he needs to close down 37, but we saw how weird it
session as well, so hasn't all been plain sailing for him. Hasn't been plain sailing for this man, Dani Delgado, through the course of this season, but he's been able to pick up a couple of podiums, and yesterday he was running at the front all the way through.
He's had 1 pole, fastest laps, he's had podiums, but he's yet to take that crucial victory, and he led for the first. Delgado from that front row. You can't discount him. He was in the leading group all the race yesterday.
Izan Guevara. This man, though, Jose Garcia, we know that Garcia is fast. He's been able to race in the World Championship this season in 2 rounds, Qatar and also Catalunya. But he's still a title contender as well, Kiko. But a ride-through penalty yesterday really was very costly for him.
Yeah, the long lap basically took him out of contention to the championship fight this season.
Yeah, I'm still in Superbike mode, thinking of ride-through penalties rather than long lap penalties. But David Salvador, he had a big penalty yesterday for his moment at the last corner. A mistake by him, came down very heavily, and he brought out the red flags in the opening race of the weekend.
A huge high side on the exit of that final corner, and really it's so easily done. But
yeah, and here's Adrian Fernandez, the little one, and he made a big impact at the start yesterday. From the second row of the grid, he was immediately able to pick up places on the run down in towards the first corner in both starts yesterday. So for the initial race and for the restarted race.
Second row start of the year, and we saw him. It was very tidy, neat and tidy. He didn't look like he was erratic. So Fernandez is definitely.
Artigas here on the number 43. He's led the championship all the way from the start of the season in Estoril until this morning. And for Xavi, after his problem on the grid yesterday, he knows that he needs to come through the field, win this race. He's got 15 points to make up on AJANG Guevara.
He has, but the worrying statistic for him is he's not had. You could easily end up in someone else's accident.
Yeah, for Xavi Artigas, he had 5 races here last year, all 5 of them inside the top 5, including a podium in the World Championship as well. AJANG Guevara was a double winner here last year in the ETC. He's already won 1 race here this weekend. You're not going to bet against him being able to pick up another win today, and he could potentially win the championship today as well.
If he outscores of Artigas, he's got the title, but I think that's out for revenge, Steve.
Yeah, for Artigas, he's going to make sure that he's able to come through the field. This man, Jose Antonio Rueda, we saw him try and come through the field yesterday, but this really was a very tough day for him yesterday. He had a crash in the initial race, got his bike back to the pits, got it repaired, got out for the restarted race, and then crashed again. Disaster,
and he has been inconsistent there too. So for Rueda, not tried it. We've seen flashes of brilliance from him in the past.
Yeah, a bit of a flash as well from Scott Ogden this weekend. Of course, the 2019 British Talent Cup winner, and for Ogden, this is a career best qualifying effort. He was able to come home with points yesterday in 12th spot as well. As you can see there, a couple of top 10 in both Portimao and Jerez.
Needs to solidify it a little bit more, and us Brits will have something to really cheer about from home. We just start. This is Gerard Riou, who had a massive crash yesterday. Thankfully, he's on the grid. He was the one who's quite concerned, the 21-year-old. He's had a good season, Steve. Inconsistent at times, but we have seen that podium.
Quite a few podiums over the years, but not quite able to get the job done this season as he would have expected. But we're just getting ourselves ready for an 18-lap race around Valencia. And Kiko, we saw yesterday just how quickly...
2017, so we've had to wait a little while for the Indonesians to come to the fore in CEV Moto 3. However, Adji, that top 6 now, he's 12th on the grid. He is not out of contention, neither is this guy. This is Vincenti Perez, obviously World Championship Moto 3.
Perez, he was racing in the Italian Championship, the Italian Moto 3 Championship this year, was able to pick up race victories in that class as well. And we know that Vincenti Perez has experience in the CEV Moto 3 class. We also know that he's got the speed to be at the front of the field, so we'll keep an eye on him through the course of this 18-lap race. But certainly, the riders to keep an eye on during this race. AJANG Guevara has hunted down Xavi Artigas throughout the summer, but now the hunter has become the hunted. Steve English and Kiko Giles bringing the action over 18 laps, and for the first time, AJANG Guevara has the chance of wrapping up the race win and then thinking about the championship thereafter. There's 50 points still up for grabs. We've got 4 riders in title contention, and this really should be an absolute barnstormer for them all, Kiko.
This should be the perfect way to get 11 of this FIM Moto 3 Junior World Championship. The stats coming into this, Steve, I was up late last night doing this. 7 races of 9 or worse. Of those 5 have been from the 3rd row or worse. We've seen Guevara win from 22nd on the grid, Garcia from 15th. We are in a run of form at the minute. He's on the 3rd row. Heading that 3rd row is number 43, 2nd in the championship standings as it stands, Xavi Artigas. Both of them are winners this year, and both of them could be winners again this morning.
Yeah, well, burning them in case I just had a guilty conscience, I think. But certainly for these riders, they shouldn't be thinking anything other than what they're able to do during the course of this race, because all of them have been able to do a really good job through the course of this season. Pedro Acosta on pole position. We've been able to see him as a regular front runner right from the start of the year. He's made a massive step forward this year. He's leading the Red Bull Rookies Cup as well.
And stuff it up the inside there and make the move. Turn 5, very hard, but again, a corner that you've got to get a good exit on into turn 6. Out of turn, left, right, chicane. You can't really do anything there. Turn 11 is a good opportunity. Those are the championship standings for the top 3. 37 points to cover them. Acosta really needs to 12, but it's a bit tricky because you've got a left-handed corner, long left-hander at the end of the lap.
Come from 3rd place as they started that lap to make the moves into turn 8 down the inside, and then just barge down the inside into the final corner. That's the key overtaking opportunity, because you can really just make that block pass, take the line, and make sure that you've got a bit of momentum as that run to the line, especially with these Moto 3 bikes. Really important to be able to use the slipstream as well, Kiko.
It really is, and the slipstream is so vital enough for these Moto 3 bikes. The front straight is, and hopefully someone who's going to be staying out of that slipstream is Pedro Acosta. He can stay in this title fight going into the afternoon.
Yeah, for Acosta, our pole sitter, the important thing is to be able to win this race, and we'll see what he's able to do from that pole. Just getting ready for the start. It's an 18-lap race here for the Moto 3 class in Valencia, the penultimate CEV Moto 3 race of the season. And as we wait for the red lights to go out, It's Acosta from the pole that's made a good start, but on the front row of the grid, Danny Holgado with a really good start on the number 96. We'll keep an eye in the mid-pack for our title contenders. Javi Ortigas on the 43 and the 28 of AJANG Guevara. Guevara trying to get down the inside and pick up a couple of spots, but everyone able to get around pretty cleanly through the initial part of turn one, but then a lot of riders running wide on the exit. This is where we saw some crashes on the opening lap yesterday. Everyone able to make it through the first couple of corners cleanly.
Everyone making it through the first yesterday. Garcia fourth, barging through into fifth is Salvador. He gets ahead of Fernandez. Seventh at the moment looks like Rueda, so he stayed upright for a little bit longer. Yeah,
AJANG Guevara's got a bit of work to do. It looks like he lost a couple of spots in the initial run down in towards turn one. We'll keep an eye on the number 28, our championship leader. You can see there one of the talent bikes able to make that move down the inside. Looks like that could have been Super Mario making the move into turn 6. You can see another rider running off in the background. It looks like Palazzi. Very easy. Julian Garcia, he was given that long lap penalty.
We saw this last year in the championship standing second and third. Does he gets the move done on Holgado? Second place for the Japanese. No jump start, so we've got a clean race here. Nothing at the moment to kind of disrupt it, but we are only early days. There is plenty of time, Steve.
Leaving the door open for another rider to attack down the inside. Not quite, but further down the field you can see Joe Kelso as well, also running inside the top 10. He had his first top 10 finish.
Salvador as they come and fan out down into turn one. Look at that, 4, 5, 6 abreast. At one point Guevara coming through, but it is Artigas who gets ahead of Salvador. Now that's one rider between himself. So Takuma Matsuyama from a career best grid position is leading, but only momentarily. Almost contact there between him and Acosta, and that gives Holgado an opportunity. Not this.
Throw the grid into third position. You can see that fire for Diaz's bike. Still waiting to see if there's any notification about what's going to happen for that. Still no flags out for it. So the marshals, they're going to up in second spot. Jose Julian Garcia, a title contender, sitting fourth in the championship standings. He's trying to move his way up now into third position as well. You can see there the marshals out to try and round to that corner. It was down to turn 5 that incident. So for these race leaders, they're just going to try and make sure they're able to keep their noses clean, because Pedro Acosta and Javi Ortigas, they've opened up a small gap to the riders behind them. It's Jose Julian Garcia that's doing the chasing, and in that second group, that's where we've got our championship leader AJANG Guevara, the number 28. You can see just trying to use that slipstream. He's behind what looks like Adrian Fernandez there, but AJANG Guevara down in 8th position. His chief championship rival Javi Ortigas
enter the race 3 this afternoon. Oh dear, don't want to be seeing too much of that, but the fire at the moment looks like we're out. We're going to carry on. That's where it was at turn 3.
Yeah, you can see Diaz on the right-hand side there. Just this race really was very strong all the way through proceedings for Alejandro Diaz, though. You can see he's just getting a bit of attention now as well. Hopefully Diaz is okay. Yesterday he had a ride-through penalty, a bit of an action-packed race for him, but hopefully...
Championship, and we're seeing it here as well. Artigas and Acosta, though, at the moment, everything's quite neat and tidy for them. They're using their championship contention experience, really. That's why they're there. All of their good results throughout the year, and their racecraft is great. This is the accident. Well, it's after the accident, and yeah, that'll be into the skip, I think, Steve. I don't think they're going to be making any history with that. Maybe. We don't know, but oh, dear me. That's left a bit of a mess on the circuit as well with 16 to go.
Yeah, for the racing line, so hopefully it's not going to have any impact for the race leaders when they come through it now in the next couple of seconds. But at the front of the field, though, you can see AJANG Guevara starting to make progress. He needs to, because Javi Ortigas is at the front, and Ortigas, of course, second in the championship, 15 points. We've seen this from Javi Ortigas already this year. Really good racecraft. He's been able to get to the front, and now we really need to see AJANG Guevara make that progress too.
We do, but we saw yesterday he will do that throughout the race. He's not one of them riders who goes at it straight away. He comes into the race, he lets the race come back to him, and it's a perfect match at the end. They always in the last 3 accident here, can't quite see who that is.
One of the talent team riders, so it could be Cook that's gone down there. We'll wait and see if we get a full notice on just who was the crash. Ogden, of course, qualified inside the top 10 as well. At the front of the field, though, you can see here for Javi Ortigas and Pedro Acosta, they're trying to open up a little bit of a gap to the riders behind them, but Jose Julian Garcia doing a really... Acosta, he looked like he might have been half ghosting a move down the inside. Nothing to gain at this stage, really, by making sure he can get through on the race leader.
Geiger and Munoz, that's a disaster. They were running just on the fringes of the top 10, so be interesting. Oh, dear.
Matsuyama's gone down now as well, and Matsuyama, of course, from the front row of the grid, ran inside the top 5 all the way through yesterday's race. You can see the frustration there for the Asia talent team. That's down at turn 2, and turn 2 is a very easy place to have a crash. Let's see what happened with him, Kiko.
Yeah, I think it's going to be... it's turn 14, the last corner. I think he's just going to tuck the front, judging by how graceful it all was. But Matsuyama, he has had it yesterday, Steve, until he was pipped on the line, really, by Guevara in that last corner sort out. Holgado looking on the inside of Garcia, but can't quite get through. So at the moment, they're holding firm. Matsuyama back up and running, but he is way out of contention now.
Yeah, such a shame for Matsuyama. At the front of the field, Pedro Acosta, he's not afraid of leading races. He's not afraid of being at the front. He's at 6 podiums through the course of this season, including a race victory in Portimao, and he wants to make sure that he's able to dictate terms at the front of the field. He did this yesterday as well, and just trying to make sure that he's able to stay there, because in the Moto 3 race, Kiko, it really is a case of having...
Guevara's got to be aware of. We have seen in this race already big crashes, fires, red flags can come out at any moment. So if you can lead at 2/3 race distance, you'll get full points and the race will be declared. A big problem, we've got an incident involving Ogden, Munoz and Geiger. That will be reviewed after the race.
Yeah, he's now as well, and you can see now for AJANG Guevara on that number 28, he hasn't been able to make the progress in the opening third of this race, but we saw this yesterday as well. A little bit of a slow burner for him, but when it mattered, he was able to make the moves, so you'd certainly expect to see the 28 able to make some progress from where he is at the back of this leading 7.
Exactly. Jose Rueda running wide there on the exit of turn 5. Guevara with the fast lap of the late. There's something hanging off that 95 Estrella Galicia. I don't know if it's his brake. At turn 8, they both stay up. Little gap forming now between Acosta and Artigas, but we've said that already, and it hasn't really come to much. It hasn't really blossomed into anything significant.
Moreira has just been given a track limits warning, so that's the first one we've seen through the course of this race. Moreira further down the field, but certainly he's not going to be the only rider that receives a track limits warning. Very much stringently enforced in the Moto 3 class in particular, where it's all about being able to have momentum